Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are firmly pushing the word in sincerity and in faith, and Shalom to all the sincere believers. Now, this lesson is going to be based on this article about a resident who died at an Oakham house fire. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will, you're edified. It says, one resident dead as firefighters battle icy conditions at Oakham house fire. Today, man died early Wednesday after a fire broke out in a single-family home in central Massachusetts, according to a joint release from Oakham Fire Chief Timothy Howe. Oakham Police Chief Frederick J. Gehring, State Fire Marshal John M. Devine, and Worcester County District Attorney Joseph D. Early Jr. Says our hearts go out to the family that lost a loved one this morning, Howe said. This is a sad day for them in the community. Oakham Fire responded to 67 Skyline Drive after a 911 call from a neighbor at about 12:45 a.m. Firefighters found heavy smoke and flames and learned that a Rutland police officer had already attempted to gain entry but was forced back by conditions inside. Firefighters immediately began to attack the fire in about 6 inches of snow amid temperatures of about 4 degrees Fahrenheit, which froze hose lines and caused dangerously icy conditions at the scene, officials said in a release. A man in his 50s, the home's sole resident, was found dead inside. The office of the chief medical examiner will determine the cause and manner of their death. The man's name was not released. Said by the time they got water on the house, I couldn't believe how fast it could burn. It was scary, said neighbor Phil Bartkus. That multiple alarms were struck to bring in additional resources, including numerous tankers carrying water. Firefighters remained at the home through the morning to extinguish hot spots. The origin and cause of the fire are being investigated by the Oakham Fire Department. Oakham Police, State Police Fire investigators assigned to the State Fire Marshal's Office, and State Police detectives assigned to the Worcester DA's office. Yeah, so yet another fire-related judgment from the Lord. 2 Timothy 3:1, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. I have the definition of perilous here. It says, full of danger, risk, or hazard involving the potential for serious injury, death, or destruction. And in the article, and it was talking about these conditions. It says firefighters immediately began to attack the fire in about 6 inches of snow amid temperatures of about 4 degrees Fahrenheit, which froze hose lines and caused dangerously icy conditions at the scene. So, it's this description of perilous fits with what happened in that article. It was a dangerous situation. The fire, the icy conditions, the frigid temperatures, the 6 inches of snow, all of it was, just full of danger and risk and hazards. So when the scriptures say this, know also that in the last days perilous times shall come, what happened, Salakia, what happened, in this article is a prime example of that. Just multiple things happening at once to make the situation more perilous, more dangerous, more risky, more hazardous. And we're going to see a lot more of these type of incidents as the days go by. Isaiah 29:6, thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh of hosts, with thunder, and with earthquake, and great noise, with storm, and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. And in this case, you had the fire that the firefighters were trying to put out, but they had other elements that they had to deal with. And all of these things come from the Lord. The snowstorms, the cold temperatures, the fires, all of these are from the Lord. And as the men of the Lord have been saying, these judgments are only going to increase in how intense they are, how dangerous they are, how risky and hazardous they are, how frequent they happen. Because that is the time that we have entered into. We have entered into the last days. And it's only going to be perils and miseries and chaos and violence and death and destruction. Ecclesiasticus 39:28, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Verse 29, fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Verse 30, teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. And going back to verse 29, where it says fire and hail and famine and death. In this particular judgment, fire and death were the two main components in this. Now that man who died in that house, he could have died from, smoke inhalation from the fire or something else. That's for the fire marshals and everybody else to determine. But at the end of the day, he did die. And like it says here, death is a spirit that was created for vengeance. And the Lord has been unleashing this particular spirit of vengeance a lot more. The amount of people that are dying from, various judgments of the Lord is increasing greatly. And that in itself is a sign of the times. Psalms 9:16, the Lord Yahweh is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Higgaion Selah. And when you see the word Lord in all capitals, that's referring to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. So it says that he is known by the judgment which he executeth. So this was judgment. This house fire that resulted in that man dying, that was the judgment of the Lord. Oh, see, that's what these Christians won't tell you, because they, believe that the Lord loves everybody and that the Lord is good all the time and all of that stuff. And it's like, no, the Lord puts people to death through his spirits of vengeance. Deuteronomy 32:39, see now that I, even I am he, and there is no power with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. And through his judgments, the Lord kills and wounds people on a daily basis. And there's nobody that can save these people from the judgments of the Lord. So this man who died possibly as a result of the fire in some form, there was nothing that could have been done to save him. Like they said, in the article, they said that a police officer had tried to get into the house, but the conditions were too severe, so he had to back off. And then the firefighters, they tried to put out the fire, but then the hose lines was getting frozen because of the 4-degree temperature. And, they would, had to deal with the snow on the ground and so many other things. And that's why it says, neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Because they were trying to save the guy, they couldn't do it. And this is just proof that if the Lord wants you to perish, then that's what's going to happen. There's nobody that can save you. The Lord will create conditions to make it impossible for anybody to save you. And this is part of the reason why the Lord is meant to be feared. You're supposed to fear the Lord. And majority of these people out here, they don't fear the Lord. And you can tell that they don't fear the Lord because they're constantly doing wickedness that angers the Lord. Because they don't fear the consequences of their actions. They don't really believe that the Lord is going to judge them. But situations like this prove that the Lord does judge people, and he does judge them harshly. And he's going to continue to dish out these type of judgments upon these wicked people who continuously and daily provoke him unto wrath. Job 4:7. Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? And the answer is that no one has perished being innocent. So that man who perished, more than likely as a result of that fire, he was not innocent in the eyes of the Lord. Verse 8. Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. And for the people that are going to sit there and say, oh, well, how do you know that that man was wicked? Because why would the Lord have someone die in a fire if they weren't wicked? Why would the Lord bring such extreme judgment upon somebody if they were righteous? That doesn't make any sense. Psalms 7 and 11, which I'm going to grab it just for, Psalm 7 and 11, Yahweh judgeth the righteous, and Yahweh is angry with the wicked every day. So the Lord having someone's house catch on fire while they're in it, and having that person die as a result of that fire, that's the Lord's anger right there towards that person. The Lord knew who was in that house. And the Lord brought judgment upon him. He died because the Lord wanted him to die. He was the target of the Lord's anger. Plain and simple. And because these small-minded, simple-minded people can't wrap their head around that, they think that that's not the case. But that very much is the case. The men, women, and the children who die every day from various judgments, that's the anger of the Lord being brought upon them because they're wicked. And there is no getting around that. These wicked people are reaping what they've sown. And these judgments are only going to get more intense. And they're going to happen a lot more often because we are living in the last days. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. Closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakakudash, the Wadi Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are still firmly pushing the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere believers. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up. Adawan Ratazah. Till next time, Shalom.